with the NPCA, and then both of them ended up with top jobs at the NPCA while they were sitting board members. So David Barrick, a regional councillor, who also was a board member at the NPCA, he actually ended up with a very senior position at the NPCA that he hadn't even applied for. He'd applied for another one, and he wasn't qualified for it, and so they just gave him the other job that was available. Jobs of the people that they had terminated a few months before. And then the other board member, Carmen D'Angelo, he took a leave of absence, and then he became the CAO of the NPCA. And then later, the right wing of regional government, they promoted him to the CAO of the region of Niagara. And so you can see where this story is going. Bill Hodgson, who was a regional councillor, and is a regional councillor, was the former mayor of Lincoln. You will know him. Bill Hodgson was on the NPCA board. He was the only person who was questioning the decisions, or one of the few that was questioning the decisions. I correct myself. And he had a smear campaign against him, and eventually he resigned from that board. They talked about, they talked about kind of not lobbying and not kind of on the biodiversity offsetting, but I've just come across a letter from a law firm who said that they actually were working for the NPCA, along with working for the region of Niagara, to actually try and get this billion-dollar project back on the rails at the expense of it. Well, there was a land deal in Waynflete that was very early on, where I think that the taxpayers of Waynflete and the taxpayers of Niagara paid way more than they should have had to pay for local decision. Yes, yes. So So this continues to go on, and I've asked the minister, and I've asked the MNR, and I've asked the Auditor General, and I've asked the Ombudsman, and I've asked the Environmental Commissioner to weigh in on this. I've asked Minister McGarry to actually appoint a supervisor, because this stuff continues to happen. The most latest was the survey about workplace harassment. And so OPSU conducted a survey of its employees, and 86.5% of the employees surveyed, and the vast majority of them completed the survey, and it was a very well-accepted survey out of OCAL, the Occupational Health Clinics for Ontario Workers. And the survey was done, and 86.5% of the workers surveyed said that they have been verbally harassed in the workplace, that they can't sleep at night when they go home, that they don't want to come to work, and the NPCA, with their new CAO, who has just been actually hired in the last couple of months, have said, oh my, this can't be true. Oh, no. They refuse to actually set up a joint committee to work with the people in this workplace, and they're saying, we're going to do our own survey. We are a wonderful organization. We do nothing wrong. We do, we provide great service for our tax dollars in the region of Niagara, and you all must not be telling the truth. So just yesterday, I get an email from, if I can find it here, somewhere. Oh, this must be it right here. So, and I have permission to actually read this to you. It says, hello, Cindy. My name is Jocelyn Baker. I am a former NPCA employee. I want to thank you for your tireless efforts towards NPCA accountability. And that's what we've been doing, folks, trying to get transparency and accountability going. I admire your professionalism and class. You have been a joy to watch. I have been waiting for my gut to tell me it is time to speak out. Now is the time. I have no tolerance for harassment, incivility, or disrespect. The NPC, as you are keenly aware, is in crisis. The culture of harassment and violence continues, most recently verified through an OPSU survey, which I'm confident you are aware of. NPC frontline staff and middle managers continue to work in unsafe and dangerous conditions. This will continue until Ms. McGarry steps in and stops it. She has the authority, she just needs the gumption. I wrote to her as well. While working at the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, I personally experienced and supervised employees who were regularly experiencing workplace violence, harassment, sexual, gender, and family status, unwanted comment, conduct, and behaviour, including bullying. All of this behaviour by members of senior management. I have been the complainant for 3 workplace harassment complaints, have been the key witness in 2 workplace investigations by Fillion, Wakely, Thorup, and Giletti. The results of these investigations saw over 96 allegations of violence and harassment, whereby 90% were found to be substantiated by fact. I experienced job loss threats, having a case of substantiated reprisal. I have spent thousands of dollars on legal fees and have been fighting to ensure a better workplace culture and environment at the NPCA. Despite all these efforts, my internal fight ended on November 21st, 2016, after 23 years of dedicated expert service. Harassment and violence at the NPCA is real. I have experienced it. It is continuing. Evil is only perpetuated by those who do nothing. Be honoured to meet with you, your staff, if you think I can be of any assistance in your call for accountability and transparency. So see, here we are, 3 years later, soon to be going into the 4th year, and this all continues to happen. So what have we done so far? I brought forward a private member's bill. It was passed, second reading here in the House, that would at least see 50% of board members have some sort of environmental background, some sort of experience, some sort of interest. Even the Mayor of Welland proposed that the appointment process, where we have two-tier government, go back to the local municipality, so at least the local municipality could appoint, as opposed to the large regional municipality having all the authority to appoint their friends on council. We called for a supervisory position to oversee the board. We spoke at every council in Niagara, and we had the support of all party MPPs to actually call upon the Auditor General to go in and do an audit, and not just an audit of finances. I mean, this is a place where contracts were given out that didn't even follow their own policy. So when you talk about wanting to give the to give conservation authorities more flexibility, that isn't going to help with our situation in Niagara. I mean, one of the board members got a contract, right? And other people were let contracts where the policy said $25,000 and it had to go for approval or had to go out to tender, and all they did was split it up into 2 different years and pay them $25 this year and $25 next year. So there are a lot of problems. We had support, I think, from every municipality in Niagara to actually have an audit done, and here we are almost a year later, and we don't have an audit done. We've had no review of the NPCA, and that is certainly problematic, and that's why I'm using my time today on this bill, because somebody has to do something. Conservations Ontario has no direct oversight over these kinds of issues. MNR says, well, we don't have any authority. And so what is a community to do? We have thousands of people who have signed petitions. You have a town hall meeting on this issue in Niagara, and you can get out a lot of people to come and talk about how pro-development the NPCA is, as opposed to dealing with what their mandate is really supposed to be about, which is protecting the environment, protecting our wetlands. So in closing, I think that I will once again call upon the minister to get involved in this process, and to just before my time runs out, just yesterday or Friday, 2 more top people at the NPCA were terminated. One, a manager of planning who had been there for many years. The other, a senior staff member who actually became the acting CAO until they hired the most recent person. Of course, it says, you know, mutually resigned, but we all know what mutually resigned means. It means that you left, you got a package, and you were signed a confidentiality agreement. So I would say now that 50% of the NPCA staff has turned over in the last 3 years.